I'm trying to hold position. I've got much more pace than Kimi here.
But we do need to get these tyres to the end of the race.
Antonelli is now told they do some synchronised swimming down to turn 4. They can.
Yep, Seven.
Wait, when you're on a different strategy.
Understood.
Formula One is often described as the pinnacle of motorsport. Millions of fans watch drivers perform at extraordinary speeds, while teams of engineers work behind the scenes to extract every possible advantage. On television, everything appears polished. The drivers look calm, the teams look professional, the cars look perfect. But beneath that polished image lies a completely different reality. Inside the cockpit, emotions run wild. Drivers are fighting intense pressure, extreme temperatures, and split-second decisions while travelling at speeds that can exceed 220 miles per hour. When things go wrong, there is no time to hide frustration. Every emotion, every argument, and every outburst is captured through team radio. Over the years, Formula One fans have heard some truly unforgettable radio messages. Some were angry, some were hilarious, some were heartbreaking, and some were so brutal that they became legendary. These are the most brutal F1 team radio moments ever. One of the most famous radio messages in Formula One history came from Kimi Räikkönen during the 2012 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. At the time, Räikkönen was leading the race for Lotus. The team was understandably nervous. Engineers constantly updated him about gaps, strategy, and race conditions. Most drivers would appreciate the information. Kimi was not most drivers. As the race continued, his race engineer kept talking. Finally, Räikkönen had enough. In a message that instantly became legendary, he responded with complete frustration. "Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing." The delivery was perfect. The timing was perfect. The result was one of the most iconic radio moments the sport has ever produced. Fans loved it because it perfectly captured Kimi's personality. He wasn't interested in unnecessary conversation. He just wanted to drive. Even years later, the quote remains one of the most recognizable lines in Formula One history. But while Kimi's message was funny, other radio moments revealed something much darker. Few relationships in Formula One history became as explosive as the rivalry between Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. The two Mercedes teammates went from childhood friends to bitter championship rivals. By 2016, the tension had become impossible to hide. At the Austrian Grand Prix, the rivalry finally exploded. On the final lap, Rosberg and Hamilton collided while fighting for victory. Hamilton crossed the finish line first. Rosberg limped home with a damaged car. The Mercedes garage was furious. Team management immediately demanded explanations. The post-race radio conversations revealed just how angry everyone had become. What had once been a friendship had turned into open warfare. The collision became one of the defining moments of their rivalry and showed how quickly championship pressure can destroy relationships. Another brutal moment came from Sebastian Vettel during the 2020 season. Vettel was a 4-time world champion and one of the greatest drivers of his generation. Yet during his final year with Ferrari, things were falling apart. The team had already informed him that his contract would not be renewed. The atmosphere was uncomfortable. The results were disappointing. Frustration grew with every race. During one event, Ferrari informed Vettel about strategy decisions that left him trapped in traffic and unable to compete effectively. His response was icy. Instead of yelling or insulting anyone, Vettel delivered something far worse. Sarcasm. The disappointment in his voice was impossible to miss. Fans could hear a driver who felt abandoned by the team that had once built its future around him. The radio exchanges became symbolic of a partnership collapsing in real time. Not every brutal radio message comes from anger. Sometimes the most painful moments come from heartbreak. That was exactly what happened during the 2008 Brazilian Grand Prix. Felipe Massa had driven the race of his life. He won his home Grand Prix. His family celebrated. Ferrari celebrated. For a few incredible seconds, everyone believed he had become world champion. Then everything changed. Lewis Hamilton overtook Timo Glock in the final corners of the final lap. The overtake gave Hamilton enough points to win the championship by a single point. Inside the Ferrari garage, celebrations instantly transformed into devastation. The radio communications that followed captured pure heartbreak. Massa had done everything right, yet it still wasn't enough. Many fans consider it one of the most emotional moments Formula One has ever produced. Sometimes, however, team radios become brutal because they expose complete chaos. No team embodied chaos quite like Ferrari during certain periods. One famous example came during the 2022 Monaco Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc started from pole position and looked set to dominate. Then, strategy mistakes began. Ferrari repeatedly changed plans. Instructions became confusing. Pit stop calls arrived at the wrong moments. The race slowly unravelled. Leclerc's frustration grew with every lap. When the opportunity for victory disappeared, his radio messages reflected exactly what millions of Ferrari fans were thinking. Disbelief, confusion, frustration, the strategy disaster became one of the most criticised team performances of the season. For fans, the radio messages made it even more painful because they could hear the disappointment unfold live. Another legendary example involved Fernando Alonso. Throughout his career, Alonso built a reputation for being one of the smartest and most brutally honest drivers in Formula One. When something wasn't working, he wasn't afraid to say it. During the difficult McLaren-Honda years, that honesty produced some unforgettable radio moments. One of the most famous occurred at the 2015 Japanese Grand Prix. As Alonso struggled with a severe lack of power, frustration boiled over. The race was taking place in Honda's home country. Millions of Japanese fans were watching. Honda executives were present. Then Alonso delivered a message that became instantly famous. He compared the engine's performance to that of a much slower racing category. The criticism was devastating. The comments spread across the motorsport world within minutes. For Honda, it was embarrassing. For fans, it was unforgettable. Few radio messages have ever generated so much attention so quickly. But sometimes the most brutal messages aren't directed at teams. Sometimes they're directed at rivals. Max Verstappen has delivered several memorable examples throughout his career. Known for his aggressive racing style and fierce competitiveness, Verstappen rarely hides his feelings. When incidents occur on track, his radio messages often provide immediate and brutally honest reactions. Whether criticizing competitors, questioning decisions, or expressing frustration, Verstappen's communications reveal exactly what he is thinking in the moment. That honesty has helped create some of the sport's most entertaining radio exchanges. Even when fans disagree with him, they know they are hearing genuine emotion. Perhaps the most uncomfortable radio moments occur when drivers realize their race is over. One powerful example came during the 2021 championship battle between Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. The season had already become one of the most intense in Formula One history. Every point mattered. Every race carried enormous pressure. When controversial incidents occurred, team radios instantly became emotional battlegrounds. Engineers attempted to calm drivers. Drivers demanded answers. Emotions overwhelmed logic. Fans listening to the broadcasts could feel the tension through every word. The radio messages became part of the championship story itself. And that is what makes Formula One team radio so fascinating. It removes the filter. The polished interviews come later. The prepared statements come later. The public relations training comes later. Team radio captures the truth. Raw emotion, raw frustration, raw excitement. It allows fans to hear exactly what drivers are experiencing in the heat of battle. When a driver wins, the joy feels genuine. When a driver loses, the disappointment feels real. When tempers explode, there is nowhere to hide. Over the years, team radio has transformed Formula One. Fans no longer watch races from a distance. They experience them from inside the cockpit. They hear every strategy call, every argument, every celebration, every mistake. And sometimes those moments become more memorable than the race itself. People may forget lap times. They may forget qualifying results. They may even forget who finished on the podium. But they never forget the radio messages. They never forget Kimi demanding to be left alone. They never forget Alonso's criticism. They never forget the heartbreak of Massa. They never forget the frustration of Ferrari strategy disasters. Because those moments reveal the human side of Formula One. Behind every helmet is a person experiencing enormous pressure. Behind every championship battle is an emotional struggle. Behind every great driver is someone fighting frustration, fear, hope, and determination. Team radio gives fans a front row seat to that reality. And when emotions reach their breaking point, the result is often unforgettable, brutal, honest, and absolutely legendary.